Hey guys, it's Kayla.
And I'm Mark Allen.
And this is Happily Ever After. And today we are going to be sharing some kind of tips on what it's like to fly in 2020. All right, guys, we're headed to Disney.
We are.
Finally. It's been a really long time. The last time we were there was New Year's.
Yep.
Which this year feels like the longest year and the shortest year all at the same time.
Yeah.
But things are a little bit different than the last time we traveled, and so we just kind of want to take you guys along on our journey of kind of what everything is like. Obviously, face masks are required.
Yep.
Shocker, shocker, as they are pretty much everywhere. But we're going to show you kind of some of the other safety things that the airports have implemented.
Yeah, security was a breeze to get through. No lines at all. I think there was maybe 10, 15 people maybe in line.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to see how full our flight is going to be though. Currently, it's October 2020, and so as of right now, I know that Southwest is still keeping the middle seats available, and so that way, you know, obviously social distancing and things like that. So, I mean, for the most part, everything here in the airport seems to be pretty much business as usual. I mean, obviously there's like announcements and the water fountains aren't available. They do have like the water refillables available, so we were able to refill our water bottle. So that was nice that we didn't have to pay for expensive water. But so far, I mean, everything kind of seems kind of almost business as usual.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you know, like masks and there's a bunch of like plexiglass, things like that, but nothing too out of the ordinary that I didn't expect.
Now we're just chilling and waiting for our flight.
Yep. Couple more hours. We got to the airport wicked early.
Service to Orlando. Your flight attendants today are Liz, Mike, and Arisa. Shortly after takeoff,
Flight number 2.
Southwest Airlines, welcome to Orlando. Please remain seated with your seatbelt fastened.
What a fun trip.
Yeah.
I loved that. That was so great. Well, we are back home now, obviously. This is not Disney, but don't worry, stay tuned because we will have more Disney videos coming. But we wanted to just talk a little bit about what we experienced while flying during a pandemic, because it was definitely an adventure.
As far as security goes, and we mentioned this a little bit earlier in the video, was that it really felt pretty normal. Obviously, the only big difference was, of course, you're wearing a mask now. And when they do check your ID and your boarding pass, they do ask that you pull your mask down so they can like properly ID you, which in Kayla's case was kind of funny because
my hair was not hot pink
on
my ID. So.
Yeah. So obviously that, but really security was pretty fast, even in Orlando where we happen to be flying. And so, yeah, it was easy, it was fast, and obviously social distancing markers and everything like that were in place.
After we got through security, I will say our airport's not the biggest airport, so it was actually pretty empty when we went. So it was pretty easy for us to kind of socially distance away from others. We found some chairs that were kind of off of the main thing, and but even as we got closer to our flight, there really weren't that many people around, so it was actually pretty easy. I will say though that they didn't have any actual like social distancing markers on chairs. And I didn't actually see anybody going around and sanitizing. I'm sure that they do. My guess is that they probably do it overnight when all the flights are done. But as far as like while we were there, I didn't necessarily see people. So I would just bring, some hand sanitizer if that makes you feel a little more comfortable. But that was something that I did notice.
Yeah. And I would expect, kind of piggybacking off of that, is that obviously this is going to not always be the case at every single airport. Each airport is different, each city is different, each state is different. And so obviously your situations will probably vary a little bit.
Now, along with this too, something I thought was very interesting was that all of the restaurants and food locations were actually still open. And you are required to wear your mask like the whole time when you're in the airport, on the airplane, everything. But if you are eating or drinking, they do allow you to take your mask off. So I know we did eat some meals at the airports and things. So again, it's just one of those, be aware of who you're around. If you are choosing to take your mask off, you do definitely have that option when you are eating or drinking.
Now, as far as announcements go, we pretty much heard announcements both from the actual airport itself, but we also flew Southwest, and in both situations, both at the airport and on the plane itself, you kept hearing announcements regarding social distancing, wearing your mask unless actively eating or drinking, and hand washing, those sorts of, protocols that you're going to be hearing a lot of if you are choosing to travel this year. And honestly, having these announcements in place and having that accountability and that reminder of, wearing your masks and doing all those things, just that accountability factor did make us feel really safe.
Getting onto the plane was actually something that we did. I think the first thing that was like noticeably different, and that was that they were loading people onto the plane in groups of 10. So basically you had a number, and Southwest is kind of different because they don't assign seats. You kind of can sit wherever. And so you would have a boarding like number. So they would call 1 through 10, 11 through 20, things like that. And what was nice about this is that you weren't like standing waiting for a seat for forever getting on the plane. But with this too, currently Southwest is keeping the middle seats open on each row unless you are traveling together. So they are able to fit more people on the planes, but at the same time they are able to kind of help distance people from each other. But I actually really liked how they were boarding, because it was nice that I didn't feel like I was standing for forever and trying to like hunt for a seat, because people kind of were almost just like filing in to the next available seat, which personally I felt was really helpful.
Now, once on board the flight, they did actually pass out some pretzels and some water, which kind of surprised us a little bit because we didn't expect that at all. Now, obviously it's not the full service, so you're not going to find soft drinks and, like a snack box, anything like that. But it was nice because you were able to take off your mask for a little bit, enjoy that. And then they did require that you put that mask back on unless you were actively, of course, eating or drinking.
This whole process was pretty much the same for our second flight. So we made a stop in St. Louis, which we were there for, I think, literally 30 minutes from getting off of the first plane and getting onto the second plane. But that airport was definitely more crowded, for sure. And again, like I said, they didn't really have spacers on the seats. And so that's just something to be aware of as you're walking around, that there are people around you. But even that second flight, they did the snack and water service, which was really nice, but pretty much everything was they boarded the same. Everything was very consistent between the two flights. And then once we landed in Orlando, it was probably around 9 o'clock at night, I believe. So there was no flights going out at that time. So it was kind of weird. The whole, everything was shut down. There was no restaurants open, no stores were open, nothing. So lights were off. It was kind of dark. So pretty much at that point, we just headed straight to Magical Express and started our Disney adventure.
Now, a little bonus for you guys that are actually traveling to Disney like we were, once we actually got off the plane, got downstairs, Magical Express is still available. And so it was, for the most part, pretty much the same, but with a few extra measures. So they scanned your Magic Band just like normal, told you which row to go to and line up for whatever resort you were going to. Now, when it comes to the boarding process, this is where we notice a few differences. So normally you can just sit wherever you want, but now they are actually boarding from back to front. That way you don't have to walk by a bunch of people finding a seat or anything like that. And once you actually made your way away from MCO, they of course still had the fun videos, but they also had obviously COVID warnings and things like that on the buses, but they were actually done kind of in a tasteful way because they were incredible themed videos. So it was just not attention, please, it was just done in a very Disney tasteful way.
Something else to note with Magical Express is that even though Magical Express itself is running, they are not doing the bag transportation. So you will not be able to just have your bags show up in your room. You will have to go to baggage claim and make sure you get your items before you go down to Magical Express to get on the bus. We are going to go a little bit more in depth about the safety policies and procedures that Disney itself has in place for a future video, so make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on those.
And let us know down in the comments, have you flown recently? What was your experience like? We would love to know your thoughts on flying in 2020. Personally, we felt really safe with all of the practices and protocols in place. Although not the most fun, we obviously know why they're there, to keep everyone safe and healthy, and we love doing our part to make sure that everyone else felt the same way.
If this video was helpful for you, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. That's all we have for you guys today. Now go create your ever after.
Things like that, like the water fountain. The water fountains aren't available.
Please hold on to the handrail. The shuttle is approaching the main terminal building.
Are you excited?
Yep.
Where are we going?
Baggage claim.